I was at my boyfriend's family home. I'm a nurse. My son burned himself on the grill by smacking his forehead into it while playing. He had a little burn. I went to the bathroom to clean it up and put some cold water on it. My boyfriend's great-grandmother is there. There might be some cultural differences, they are Latina, but she insists on putting butter on my kid's burn. I said no, and his mom came to talk to me saying I should just do this because it's disrespectful to his great-grandmother not to take her advice, she's almost 100. I told his mother it's disrespectful of them not to listen to me about treating my own child, and I'm a nurse, so I'm not putting butter on a small burn. The woman and his family tried to bully me again about the butter, and I finally got mad and said butter is for cooking, why would I want it on the burn? I saw his mom try to put it on my kid and I said no fucking butter. I took my kid and left. My boyfriend said I am not to treat his family like that and I should have just let them do it because in his culture elders are important. I said in my culture my boundaries and health are more important than your grandma's ego. We haven't talked since, and my friend said I was being insensitive to my boyfriend and his family.
I, 19F, study drama at uni, and my boyfriend is on the same course. My boyfriend is a really good-looking guy, but he doesn't seem to know it. He gets a lot of attention from girls and for the most part, doesn't seem to get that they're flirting with him. I'm not generally annoyed by this, and never really say anything. However, there's one girl in our class, let's call her Victoria, who is obsessed with my boyfriend. She goes out of her way to be paired with him in group activities. For example, if the professor picks groups by numbering us 1, 2, 3, she will move herself to be in the same number as him, and she recently stepped down from a main role in a play we're doing so she could be in a more minor one, simply because this character has a romance with my boyfriend. I know this is the case, because I've heard her say to her friends that she thinks he's hot and whatnot. I've never said anything to her about it, because she seems pretty insecure, always complaining about how she thinks she's ugly, and I don't see it as a big deal because my boyfriend doesn't care. However, we recently performed the play and had a small after-party where she got slightly drunk and was bragging about how she definitely felt something when they kissed in the play, and she's going to ask him if he felt the same. I rolled my eyes and again ignored it, until she actually went up to my boyfriend. She was a little bit drunk, and when she went up to him I was there too. Victoria started saying that she knows he must have felt a spark, he's a really good kisser, etc. I snapped, and sort of shouted at her that you sound incredibly desperate, going after somebody else's boyfriend. You're pathetic if you think a stage kiss means you should be together. She looked super embarrassed and walked away, and I later heard she'd gone home crying. I feel like an a-hole because she's obviously insecure and whatnot, and her friends haven't stopped calling me A-B since.
My wife and I bought a 4-bedroom house in PA that my son lives in. Our son went to college in PA and wanted to stay in the area. So we bought the house as a second home. We live in NJ and commute into Manhattan for work. We figured that he would have a place to live and we could visit every so often and spend some quality time together. We pay the taxes and services/maintenance on the house. Our son pays for his groceries and the house utilities. All was going well for a few years. Our son meets a girl and they get serious. We met her and she seems nice enough. They announce their engagement and she moves into the house with our son. Now for the problem, the wedding. We hold a little get-to-know-you barbecue at the PA house. My son and daughter are there, as are our son's fiancée and her parents and sisters. We all seem to be getting along well. My wife, daughter and the fiancée go into the house along with her mother and sisters and my son. A few minutes later my wife and daughter come out and are really upset. They come over and tell me we're leaving and driving back to NJ. I try to find out what happened. Once we get back to NJ and they calm down, they tell me that our son and his fiancée along with her family don't want us at the wedding. According to what I was told, we're not their kind of people. I was livid. I called my son and asked him WTH this was about. He tells me that her family feel that we are not good enough and will embarrass them at a family wedding and that we are all uninvited from the wedding. I let a week go by to calm myself down and drive back to the PA house. The new future in-laws are in the house along with the fiancé. It appears that they all moved into the house. They ask me why I'm there. I tell them that since we aren't invited to the wedding, I was coming over to talk to my son. They tell me to leave their house. I lost it and told them that they had 30 days to get out. Tell my son I'm selling the house and he could find somewhere else to live with all of you. I go to a realtor in town and list the house for sale. They call my son at work and tell him what I said. Apparently they thought that he owned the house. He calls me and asks why I'm selling his house. I tell him I paid for it along with the taxes on it and it is mine. He was living there rent-free, but since he doesn't want us in his new life, he has to get out. I tell him the same as I told his future in-laws, they have 30 days to get out, then I'll get a lawyer and get them evicted. Am I the a-hole for taking a hard stance on this? He is my son, but the in-laws seem to take over and we no longer count.
My great-aunt set up savings accounts for all of her female relatives. In our culture, education for women is not really valued, and she thought that was bullcrap. She lived with her father in London, where she was educated. She went on to attend university and became a doctor. She funded the education of as many of her nieces and grandnieces as she could. When she passed away, she left money for every girl relative she could. My parents managed to access the accounts that were set up for my sister and I. They used it to pay for my brother's wedding. My sister didn't care because she got married 2 years out of high school and had no intention of going to college. When I graduated, I went to the bank to get money for school and it was almost all gone. There was like $13,000 left. I asked my parents about it and they said they had needed the money. I finally found out where the money went. I got furious. I got student loans and moved out. I am a great source of shame to them and I don't give two craps. I am currently suing them for the money that was left for me. My entire family is against me. They all think I am a complete a-hole for airing private family business in public. And that I am putting money ahead of family. My friends are all on my side, but they are all Americans and don't really get my culture. Neither do I, to be honest. My brother called me up and offered to pay for my university if I dropped the lawsuit. I agreed as long as we had a legally binding contract. He said I was being an a-hole for not trusting him. I said he should not have accepted my money for his wedding. It is causing all kinds of embarrassment in our community. I am somewhat ashamed to be doing this, but I don't want to have this debt I should not have.
I have a medical alert service dog named Max who helps with a serious heart condition. He's literally saved my life multiple times by alerting before I pass out. I started a new office job 3 months ago, and everything was fine until Karen started her crusade against Max. It started small. She'd loudly announce, "Pets aren't allowed in the office," every time she saw us. I explained repeatedly that Max is a service dog, not a pet, and showed her his documentation. She then started telling everyone I was, obviously faking, because I looked too young to be disabled. Things escalated fast. She tried to test Max by dropping food near him, though he's trained to ignore it. She reported me to HR weekly. But the worst part? She started purposely wearing strong perfume and spraying air freshener around my desk, which triggers my condition. Max alerted 3 times in one day because of this. The final straw. I found out she was taking photos of me and Max and posting them in a Facebook group about fake service dogs, asking for ways to expose me. She included my full name and workplace. I took screenshots and went to HR. They fired her on the spot for harassment and creating a hostile work environment. Now my inbox is flooded with messages from her friends and family saying I'm TA for getting a mother of 3 fired over a dog and that I should have just worked from home if I'm so sick. Here's the thing. I actually feel horrible that she lost her job. Her kids aren't at fault here. But she literally put my life at risk with the perfume stunts, and doxing me online was scary.
I, 29F, have been married to my husband, 31M, for 5 years. We've had a good relationship overall, but there's always been one issue: his girl best friend, Megan, 30F. She's been in his life since childhood, and while I've always felt a bit uneasy about their closeness, I trusted my husband and tried to be cool with it. Megan is always around. She's at our house constantly, they text all the time, and she even comes on family vacations with us. Every time I brought up how their friendship made me uncomfortable, my husband would brush it off, saying she's practically a sister and that I was overreacting. To make matters more complicated, my mother-in-law, 58F, is amazing. She's always had my back and has told me multiple times that if Megan made me uncomfortable, I should talk to my husband about setting boundaries. On the other hand, my father-in-law, 60M, has a very different attitude. He adores Megan and has always said that she's part of the family and that I just need to deal with it. He thinks my discomfort with their friendship is just jealousy. Fast forward to 2 months ago. My husband started acting distant. Coming home late, being secretive with his phone, and just off. I had a gut feeling something was wrong, so one night, I went through his phone while he was in the shower. That's when I found out, he and Megan had been having an affair for months. I was crushed. I confronted him, and he admitted everything. He swore it was a mistake, said he loved me, and begged me not to leave him. I didn't know what to do, so I stayed quiet for a bit, trying to process everything. A couple of weeks later, my in-laws hosted a big family barbecue. I was still reeling from the affair, but my husband convinced me to come, saying we needed to keep up appearances while we worked things out. I went, but I was a wreck inside, especially knowing Megan would be there. Sure enough, Megan showed up like nothing had happened, acting all friendly with everyone, including me. I was boiling inside, but I kept it together. Then, during dinner, my father-in-law made some offhand comments about how Megan would always be part of the family, and that I needed to get over my insecurities. He said this in front of everyone. That was my breaking point. I stood up, looked straight at him, and said, "You know what? I would get over it if she wasn't sleeping with my husband." The entire table went silent. Megan's face turned white, and my husband tried to calm me down, but I wasn't having it. I told everyone exactly what had been going on, the sneaking around, the lies, the betrayal. My mother-in-law was furious, but not at me. She laid into my husband and Megan, saying they'd destroyed our marriage and disrespected me. My father-in-law, though, had the audacity to say I was overreacting and that affairs happen, but I shouldn't have aired it out in front of the family. He even defended Megan, saying she made a mistake and we should all